About 20 years ago, I remember hopping onto this new website called YouTube. I typed in soccer drills into the search bar, and I distinctly remember 3 videos popping up. The first video, there was just a guy doing bell taps. Another video just had a guy very simply weaving through a cone. And the third video was this girl doing a drill, which I eventually started calling the Ronaldinho Drill. At that time, 2007, 2008, that was all the information on YouTube about becoming a professional footballer. Flash forward to today, and now the opposite is happening. There's this oversaturation of videos, information, drills, skill moves on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all over the internet. And on one hand, this is amazing. If 12-year-old Matt Sheldon could see how much the internet and specifically YouTube has evolved with soccer content, I think he would have lost his shit. But at the same time, I think he also would have been a little bit overwhelmed with just how much content there is out there. The main problem that really occurs is, where do you start? Too many drills, too many videos, too much content leads to this condition called paralysis by analysis, where players are too busy analyzing all of the available content and information out there instead of just getting outside and training. And to be honest, 99% of the videos out there, the content out there, the drills out there is great, and it will improve you as a footballer. It really is just about picking some, sticking to them, staying consistent, and doing those multiple times a week for the next 10 years. That's really how you improve as a footballer. But if you're still feeling overwhelmed, I have created my ultimate 10 drills, the list of 10 drills that I think you only need to focus on in order to hit all parts of your technical game and improve as a footballer to hopefully one day become a pro. Drill number 1 is the trapezoid passing pattern. I think an absolute necessity in every single footballer's training regimen has to be some sort of tight space passing pattern. Like I said, there are thousands of passing patterns that you can choose from, but my personal favorite is this trapezoid one. I love it because it's so fast paced. You're moving in different directions. You have 1-touch passes in there. You have 2-touch passes in there. You have to take touch in different directions with different parts of the foot, and it's an absolute leg burner. I typically do a couple different variations of this same pattern, and the only thing that really changes is that touch across. If you're by yourself, you can completely replicate this by just finding a good wall or getting a rebounder. Michael Cunningham, I think, has some of my favorite wall passing patterns, so I'm gonna link a video in the description if you wanna check that out. But again, the actual pattern doesn't really matter as much as just picking one. The second drill is 2-touch. There's a reason why pros at practically every single professional football club around the world do some version of 2-touch before or after training. And the reason for that is because it's really fun, it's easy, and it drastically improves your first touch. Usually pros like to make it even a little bit more challenging, and typically they don't allow thighs or the head to be used in 2-touch, but you can make your own rules for your skill level. This game is really simple. Every single player has 3 lives, and you're trying to keep the ball up using only 2 touches. If you're the player who drops the ball or messes up, you lose a life, and you play until someone runs out of lives. There are a few different variations of this game. You have the Brazilian Altinha. It's invented on the beaches of Brazil, and this just revolves around keeping the ball up in the air, usually using only 1 touch, but multiple touches are allowed if you need to do it. The emphasis here, if you can imagine, is not only keeping the ball up, but also adding in a ton of flair, using flicks in different parts of the body, trying to add flair while also keeping the ball up in the air. You also have this same exact game where you're just trying to keep the ball up with a partner over a longer distance, and you're really trying to lace the ball and volley the ball over to your partner with more of a difficult, longer range pass. And finally, a solo variation of this, if you have nobody to play with, is just going to the wall and doing 1-2 touch or other juggling variations against that wall. Drill number 3 is 1v1s to the big goal at an angle. I think it's absolutely crucial to work on 1v1s regardless of what position you are on the field. I think that a 1v1 is really footy in its simplest form. Can you win this matchup against your direct opponent standing in front of you? And like I said, my favorite version of 1v1s is 1v1 to the big goal in a lane at an angle. Not only do you get the 1v1 dribbling and defending component in the 1v1, but you also get finishing. And that finishing is actually done at a more game realistic angle. When I play this game, we typically play to 7 goals. If you score a goal, your defender has to defend again, and you get to go to the back of the line. If the defender stops you, if the keeper saves a shot or the ball goes out of bounds, then the defender goes to the back of the line and you become the next defender. This way, there's a bit more rotation in who you're playing against, and there's also that added punishment of being scored on. Variations of this are pretty simple. You can move the angle to the other side of the goal, you can attack straight on, or if you don't have a keeper or a big goal, you can just do the same 1v1s to mini goals. Now, a solo variation of 1v1s is tough. You just can't really replicate defending a live attacker or attacking against a live defender, but you still can do components of it. If you're by yourself, I think the best thing you can do is do some sort of dribbling weave, attack a cone, perform a skill move, and then either hit a pass or a shot on goal. The fourth drill is 3v1+1 Rondo Transition game. I think everybody understands how important a rondo is for developing your decision making and your speed of play, and I think there's a reason why every single professional team out there in the world incorporates some version of a rondo in their team training, probably once or twice at minimum per week. The absolute classic is the 5v2 rondo, which I love, but I think I love the Rondo Transition even more. And I like it more because it adds that extra transition aspect. You're moving, creating more angles, it's a little bit more dynamic, and you have to think when the best time is to switch the ball over to the opposite grid. The actual setup that you do, the number of defenders, the size of the grid, all just depends on how many people you have, but my favorite is that 3v1+1. I like that more because you get way more touches on the ball with those smaller numbers, and it's a little bit harder because you don't have as many options to play. But it's also the reason why typically I play unlimited or two touch in this game. And I know that's kind of taboo being a rondo because a real rondo is one touch, but this is just my preference. I love how it's not just one touch because you also have the decision making of when it is the right time to play one touch, you play one touch, but when it's the right time to slow the game down, take an extra touch and settle the ball, you can take that extra touch. The game is super simple. Once you combine 5 passes in one grid, you can then transition over to the next grid. Now, personally, I like to add even more competition to this game, and I play where if you get 2 transitions on that defender, the defender loses a life. Or if you meg the defender also loses a life. The first player in your group to lose their 3 lives loses. Variations of this are pretty simple. You obviously have the normal rondo, 5v2 rondo, which I do all the time and I love. And you also have the even larger scale 3-team over the river game. This game is just an oversized rondo where after you get 5 passes, you're switching the ball over to the opposite grid, to the opposite team. Now, when it comes to a solo variation of this, you can't really replicate a rondo by yourself. So if you don't have any players to play with, then find some. Which I'm joking, but I'm kind of serious at the same time. But if you truly are by yourself, then my advice is just to work on your technical passing and first touch with a wall or other drills until you do get some players that you can train with and do a rondo with. Drill number 5 is just crossing and finishing. Super, super simple. Again, another basic staple drill, and I really don't think it needs to be complicated. With this drill, I think you can get a little bit more position specific. If you're a striker, center mid, center back, I think you could stay in the center of the field, work on the long ball distribution as well as finishing on goal. And if you're an outside player, a winger, a fullback, you can stay on the wing and work on receiving and whipping and crosses. Having said that though, I do think you should mix it up and work on just at least being able to cross the ball, even if you are a center back, or being able to finish a header when you get the chance if you are a fullback. You don't have to specialize in it, but you should at least have it in your repertoire. My favorite way to do the crossing drill is where the players in the center start with the ball, ping out a long ball over to the fullbacks or wingers on the side of the field. They take one touch, bring it down, whip it across for the players running in the box. Again, if you watch professional teams train, every single professional team is going to do some variation of this very simple crossing and finishing drill. Another variation that I like to do all the time is just adding a little bit more passing combinations before each action. So the strikers will do a little passing combination before firing 1 or 2 shots off on goal, and then the center backs will be passing the ball back and forth, and then they'll time it so they'll ping out the ball out to the fullback as the strikers are finishing that second shot. The fullback will bring down the ball, do a little 1-2 with another winger or somebody, and then whip it across into the 2 strikers running into the box. Same concept, just adding a little bit more passes. Now, a solo variation is a little bit difficult for this. I think if you're a wide player, you can turn a goal so it's perpendicular to that 18-yard box, and you can just work on tapping the ball out and whipping in crosses into the back of the net. If you're a striker, it's really hard to replicate a whipped in cross into the box. So I think in the meantime, when you're by yourself, just to work on tapping the ball out and finishing different parts of the goal with different parts of the foot and different styles. Next, we have the Y passing pattern. Another passing pattern, but this time it's on a larger scale. You get that really fast-paced, tight touches in the trapezoid passing pattern, but the Y passing pattern is a little bit more game realistic with the turns, the passing, the 1-2 on a bigger scale. Now, I like the Y passing pattern the most because you get, again, a variety of different actions in one drill. I think, again, that this is just a staple drill that, from what I've experienced, most professional teams will incorporate into their training. Again, the solo variation is hard with this. I think the best thing you can do is just to hit the wall and do different passing combinations at different distances, working on different turns, touches, 1-2 touch, all that kind of stuff against a wall. Drill number 7 is the Ronaldinho drill. I think it's pretty cool that one of the first videos about training to become a footballer on YouTube was about this Ronaldinho drill. And flash forward 20 years, I'm still doing the Ronaldinho drill, and I still believe it's one of the best drills you can do for ball mastery and dribbling. I think it has all the benefits of those ball mastery drills with the added bonus of it being instinctual. If you do it right and you really put in a ton of effort and really focus on doing a lot of different touches with both feet and different parts of the feet, and then adding in some skill work in there as well, it is unmatched for how many touches you get in such a short period of time. The standard Ronaldinho drill for me is typically 30 to 60 seconds where I just stay in that blob of cones, but you can also add a ton of variety to it. One thing that I really enjoy doing, especially when I'm by myself, is doing the Ronaldinho drill before something. So I'll start with the ball, dribble into the Ronaldinho drill with a direction in mind, dribble through these cones, pop out, escape the Ronaldinho drill, and then dribble to a cone, perform a move before I do a shot on goal or a pass into a corner. The next drill we have is horseshoes. This drill at its core is just trying to trap a ball from your partner as close to a cone as possible. You place 2 cones on the ground. I typically place them across the width of the 18-yard box, which is about 44 yards. And then you have one partner stand on one side and you stand on the other. You and your partner then try to trap the ball as close to the cone and try to get it closer than the other groups. The ball that ends up being closest to the cone gets a point, and then I typically play to 7 points. I love doing this drill as a finisher at the very end of my training sessions because you're warmed up and you can ping that long ball, but there's not much movement. It's not tiring at all. It's a really relaxed, easygoing, slow game that I think is really, really good when you have tired legs. Different variations of the horseshoe game pretty much just changes how far the cones are between each other. You can also limit the body parts that you can use to trap the ball. I play where you can only use your feet to trap the ball, and I also sometimes add where every other point has to be done and trapped with your weak foot. If you're by yourself and you're looking for a solo variation, again, it's time to hit the wall and you just work on pinging the ball against the wall, taking good touches, and cleanly receiving that ball every single time. I'm sure you guys are sensing a pattern here, but if you're by yourself, one of the best things you can do is to pass the ball against a wall or a rebounder. Drill number 9 is passes to a shot on goal. Simplicity really is key in my opinion. I think the absolute basic drill of just passing the ball, taking a touch, and finishing on goal is one of the best things you can do to improve your finishing. And there's also so many ways that you can tweak this drill to add variability to it. You can change up the angle, you can change up the distance, you can change up the passing pattern, you can do a little bit of pattern or movement before the shot, you can lay off the shot, you can do a move before the shot, so you can do a quick touch to a quick release, so you're limiting the amount of steps you're taking between the touch and the shot. There's so many ways you can change up this drill, and every single way is going to work on something slightly different. The solo variation is really, really easy. If you have a rebounder, perfect, just pass the ball a couple times against the rebounder, take a touch, turn, shoot on goal. And if you don't have a rebounder, then just tap the ball out and take a shot on goal. And finally, drill number 10, 3v3 small-sided to the big goals. The absolute staple of every single footballer's training regimen should be playing. I think it's incredibly important to have other drills in your regimen, like the ones I've listed, to work on other parts of the game, but majority of your training should just be playing. The little details that you learn just from playing pickup, I think, are invaluable as a player. And my personal favorite version of small-sided is that 3v3 2 big goals. I love the small numbers because it means you're always one pass away, you're always involved, you're always moving, you get tons of touches, but you also have enough players where you can make some really good combinations as well. If you don't have goalkeepers or you don't have big goals, then you can just play 3v3 to the mini goals. And if you only have one goal or one keeper, then you can play where the other side has to score on 2 mini goals. And every time a goal is scored on the mini goals, you just switch sides. Now, I think there is no solo variation to this drill. You can do drills focusing on components of the game, but you can't replicate small-sided games by yourself. So if you are alone, you have nobody to train with, then go to fields at the weekends or in the evenings at peak hours and just try to get involved with pickup games. Just ask to join in on those sessions. But if you truly are by yourself, you have nobody to train with, then like I said, focus on other drills, hit the wall, do other things to focus on your game for now until you get to a point where you do have people to play with. Now, overall, as you can see, I truly believe that these 10 drills will hit everything you need to do on the technical side of the game to improve as a footballer. Of course, there's other things like your fitness and physicality and your mental side and the tactical component of the game. But if we're looking at the technical side of the game, I think these 10 drills hit everything. And like I said before, if you've been familiar with me for a while, you've been watching my videos, you'll know that these drills make up 90% of all of my sessions, or variations of these drills make up 90% of every single training session that I do. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My goal for this is really to help the people that are are getting a little bit of paralysis by analysis with just the oversaturation of how many drills and information there is out there, and hopefully simplify it a little bit so you just get started and get started training. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, peace.